and wondering why Barney Frank is on there. Yes, this is the Frank in the Dodd-Frank financial protection bill. Former congressman. It's because of this Wall Street Journal article this evening, which alleges that Barney Frank has spent the past couple of years earning more than $2 million on the board of the now seized Signature Bank, pushing to weaken some of the very laws that he put into place. Joining us now in this developing story is the Wall Street Journal's Andrew Ackerman, who contributed to this piece. I mean, Andrew, everybody's kind of going back on Twitter because that's what people do. It's his fault. It's Trump. It's Biden. It's whatever team you're on, they just automatically blame the other side. This is the congressman whose name is on the legislation, retires, works for a bank, makes a couple $1 million. What exactly was he trying to change here?
I think he did testify in support of the regulatory rollback, but I think the argument he made was that the 50 billion figure, there's a threshold they had for what's called heightened prudential standards. So Dodd-Frank says, hey, if you're above 50 billion, you're going to be subject to all these new tougher rules. He just said, hey, that 50 billion, that's totally arbitrary. It could be higher.
Yeah, fair enough. And this is kind of where people are going back. They're going after the former president. But you got to admit, Andrew, it's a bad look. I mean, when it's not like he was a random congressman. It's the Dodd-Frank Consumer Financial Protection Bill.
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole episode has showed that the revolving door is very much on display. You've got Barney Frank on the board of one of the failed banks, Mary Miller, who was the senior Treasury official, also a Baltimore mayoral candidate. She's on the board of SVB. Obviously the head of SVB, Greg Becker, he was on the board of the San Francisco Fed, which looks totally asleep. We're not really sure what their examiners were doing. So you have people kind of in government going into private sector, kind of like, or the opposite. The whole thing kind of looks a little rough.
Yeah, and by the way, you wonder what the San Francisco Fed was doing. I know what they weren't doing, which is talking to the chief risk officer, and I only know that for certain because they didn't have a chief risk officer. From April or May of last year to January of this year, Silicon Valley Bank did not have a CRO, a chief risk officer. I mean, that alone, do you think, and not like we knew, there's thousands of public companies, we can't track them all, but shouldn't that have been kind of a little bit of a flag to somebody, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear there was a ton of red flags here that were not followed up on by the management and by the examiners of the bank.